Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's lesson, we'll be talking about the present progressive, the simple past, and the past continuous. And at the end of this video, I'll give you 10 idiomatic expressions to use to speak like a native speaker. But right before jumping into the lesson, I'd like to take a few moments to say a huge thank you to my first hundreds of subscribers. Yo, I'm grateful for each one of you guys. You're really helping me grow this channel. But for those of you for some reasons who haven't subscribed yet, look, how about I give you a few seconds to actually hit that subscribe button. And I promise to upload regular videos on how to speak English better. Now that you have subscribed, without any further ado, let's jump right into it. The present progressive is also known as the present continuous. It is indeed used to describe actions that are happening at the exact moment of speaking. For instance, you are watching this video. It is also used to talk about an action that is taking place now but not at the exact moment of speech. For example, you are studying in Harvard University. In the aforementioned example, you can clearly see that the action is currently taking place, whereas in this very example, you don't have to be in the campus of the university. You are studying in Harvard University. You are a student of the Harvard University. Also used to describe an event planned in the future. For instance, I am visiting my cousin on Wednesday, which means I will visit my cousin on Wednesday. It's used with always to emphasize the frequency of an action in an ironic or hyperbolic way. For instance, my niece is always making me upset. Be cautious with some verbs when adding ing. Double the consonant when a vowel is stressed at the end of a verb. For example, put becomes putting. I am putting the garbage out. Otherwise, if the vowel is not stressed, we don't have to double the consonant. For example, benefit becomes benefiting. The patients are benefiting from the medicine. Look, for verbs that end with an E, it's imperative that you get rid of the E, so drop the E before adding ing. For example, write becomes writing. I'm writing a letter to my significant other. However, for double E, simply add ing. For example, see becomes seeing. I am seeing the stars. For verbs ending with IE, change IE to Y. For example, lie becomes lying. She is lying. For verbs that end with a C, change C to CK before adding ing. For example, picnic becomes picnicking. He is picnicking. Some verbs such as know and like are not normally used in this way. For example, we don't say I am knowing or she's liking. Although you might hear some native speakers say it, but just keep in mind that it is informal. The following verbs are not normally used in the present continuous. Like, love, hate, want, need, prefer, know, realize, suppose, mean, believe, understand, belong, fit, contain, seem. And remember, I suppose you want to leave. Do you understand what I mean? Now that we've talked about the use of the present progressive, let's talk about its construction. It's not difficult at all. It's pretty simple to form the present progressive. You need to know the simple present of the verb be. We talked about it previously. And the base form of the verb that you intend to use plus ing. That's pretty much all you need to do. Now listen to me closely. Just in case you are wondering what is the base form, it's the simplest form of a verb, that is without any subject pronouns whatsoever attached to it. It's in simple terms the root form of the verb, like be. For example, it is raining. I'm watching Peaky Blinders on Netflix. To be plus being. To be plus being is used to say how someone is behaving. For example, he is being stingy. He is behaving stingy. Now that we are done with the present progressive, let's go over the simple past.
Past simple ends in ed, chiefly for regular verbs like die, died.
We've already talked about the regular verbs previously, but just in case you haven't watched the video, I'll put it on the screen at the end of this one.
The simple past is used to describe an action that is completed in the past. It's usually used with a date or in adverb of time, such as yesterday, last week, last night, and so on. For example, Martin Luther King died on April 4th, 1968. How is the simple past structured? To form the simple past, you pretty much have to use a subject pronoun plus the simple past of the verb that you intend to use. I didn't actually go to the beach, ladies, but just in case you would like to invite me, I have my shirt on.
The simple past of be is was, were. The simple past of do is did. Now I want y'all to answer these questions in the comments. Where did you go yesterday? What did you do? To be simple past. I was, you were, he was, she was, it was, we were, you were, they were. Complete the sentences with the simple past of the verbs in parentheses. The past continuous. We often use the simple past and the past continuous together to say that something occurred in the middle of something else. For instance, I was running when I fell. We also use the past continuous to talk about something that you were in the middle of doing at a certain time in the past. For example, what were you doing at 8 o'clock last night? How is the past continuous formed? To form the past continuous, we use a subject pronoun plus the verb be in the simple past plus the verb that you intend to use plus ing. I was going to school when she called me.
Since you have reached this far, as promised earlier in the beginning of this video, we're gonna go over 10 idiomatic expressions that you can use to separate yourself from the beginners. First things first, what is an idiom? An idiom is a group of words that typically presents a figurative meaning. For example, in the expression to have a ball, it's not having a literal ball, but rather to have a good time. The first one is run out of, meaning exhaust the supply or quantity of something. For example, we are running out of sugar, we won't be able to bake the cake.
Next up is the expression fed up with. To be fed up with means to be very tired of something or to be angry about something that has continued for a long time. To have enough of something. For example, the consumers are fed up with rising gas prices. Next up is the expression moolah, meaning money. For example, how much moolah would that chain cost? Number 4 is the idiomatic expression make sure, which means to ensure that something occurs or is done. Now, I say this one tons of times. For example, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Number 5 is the idiomatic expression to have a ball, meaning to have a quite enjoyable time. For instance, last night we had a ball. You can also say to have a blast. And since we are talking about ball, here is another expression with the word ball. Ball is in your court, meaning it's up to you to take the next step. For example, I've been giving you learning materials. Now the ball is in your court. Next up is the idiom see eye to eye, meaning to be in full agreement. For example, my sister and I don't always seem to see eye to eye. And speaking of agreement, next up is the idiomatic expression let bygones be bygones, which actually means to forget about differences that happened in the past. For example, it's time to move on and let bygones be bygones. Number 9 is to be in a rush, meaning to be in a hurry. For example, since it's time to end this video, I'm in a rush. And finally, this brings us to the very last idiom, to take for granted, which means to value something lightly. For instance, Big Sean is a great rapper, but I believe his talent is taken for granted. Well, that's it for me today, guys. Those are 10 idiomatic expressions that you can use. Hopefully, you'll make the most of this video and you won't take it for granted. See you next.